Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. DJ here again, and welcome. I've got to speak to you today. I'm back again with another news point, and it seemingly, as I mentioned this, to be something old news, but it's relevant today because it was only yesterday that this committee in America called for answers to the COVID vaccine. Don't switch off. In the USA, health officials knew about the risks of myocarditis from the COVID-19 vaccine, so the heart attacks that people were having after being vaccinated. And it says that health officials knew about the risks but downplayed the concern and delayed informing the public about the risk of taking the jab. Now, this is according to a new Senate report released by Senator Ron Johnson on Wednesday. Now, here we are, we're on Friday, so it's only 2 days old, this report is. And Johnson is the chairman of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations in America. And he's been investigating the safety and efficiency of the COVID-19 vaccines. And earlier this year, he subpoenaed the Department of Health and Human Services, known as HHS, for records related to COVID-19 vaccine, the safety data and communications about the pandemic. Now, Senator Johnson is saying that COVID cover-ups have to end. The interim report, he got 55 pages after subpoenaing the officials, have been reviewed by Fox News Digital and revealed that Biden's administration, the ex-former President Biden, administration officials withheld crucial health information from the subcommittee and the public. Since 2021, so we're talking 4 years ago, Johnson has sent more than 70 oversight letters, which he says were either completely ignored or inadequately addressed. But now that Donald Trump is the president, Donald Trump will not stand for them being ignored. And so he got this 50 pages he'd been asking for. Johnson, that is. Now, the scientists, it proved, found clues on why COVID vaccine causes chronic health problems in some people. Johnson's report says that 2,473 pages of records he obtained contain evidence of the Biden's administration's efforts to downplay and delay warning the public about risks of myocarditis associated with the mRNA COVID vaccines. The report points to records from May 2021 in which officials of the HHS discussed whether to issue the formal warnings about myocarditis. According to the report, the formal warning about myocarditis was initially going to be distributed nationwide as Health Alert Network message, which according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, is CDC's primary method of sharing critical information about urgent public health incidents with public information officers and federal and state and territorial and tribal and local public health practitioners, doctors, clinicians, and public health laboratories. However, Johnson's report said the health officials at the CDC and the Food Administration and Drug Administration, FDA, ultimately decided against issuing a formal health notice and instead posted clinical considerations on CDC's own website about the myocarditis. Based on the subpoena that Donald Trump allowed him to put, Johnson chairman of the subcommittee, has received to date, as well as Public Freedom of Information Act documents, an interim report which highlights records and presents a timeline showing the USA health officials knew about the risks of myocarditis. Those officials downplayed the health concerns, and the US health agencies delayed informing the public about the risks of the adverse events. The senators have invoked a statute to force answers on COVID origins because they accuse them of a full-fledged cover-up. The report also highlights the Israeli Ministry of Health notified officials at the CDC in February 2021 of large reports of myocarditis, particularly in young people following the administration of the Pfizer vaccine. The report also highlights documents showing CDC officials discussed safety signals for myocarditis with the mRNA vaccines in April 2021. Based on a Defense Department and Israeli data department, but they decided they were still not going to take immediate steps to warn the public. These people, they're not going to warn us about these adverse effects on us. They allowed people to die in their thousands. Documents obtained by Senator Johnson also show CDC officials communicating with Moderna and Pfizer representatives about the risks. So, Johnson also obtained draft meeting notes from late May 2021, exchanged between the US public health officials, which included the question, is virus signalling for myocarditis now? And the answer was, from the health service, for the ages of groups 16 to 17 and 18 to 24, yes. Now, what is VAERS? VAERS is an acronym for Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. So, the adverse events, so things that are happening to people that shouldn't have been happening, were happening and they knew about it, and it was especially on 16 to 17 and 18 to 24. And many of you remember the amount of athletes, fit young men and women, that collapsed on the sporting fields and died of heart attacks after being vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccination. Remember? But they kept it quiet. They denied it. It must be something else, they kept telling us. Rather than provide the public health care providers with immediate and transparent information regarding the risks of myocarditis following the mRNA COVID vaccination, Biden administration, the then former President Biden's administration, waited until late June 2021 to announce changes to the labels of the Moderna and Pfizer COVID vaccines based on the suggested increase of myocarditis and pericarditis. The report states, even though CDC and FDA, that's the Food Administration, officials were well aware of the risk of myocarditis following the COVID-19 vaccination, they were well aware. The Biden administration opted to withhold issuing a formal warning to the public for months about the safety concerns jeopardising the health of young Americans. Now remember, this was happening in Britain as well. It was happening in Britain. It was happening all over the world. But I'm only getting this information because of Johnson, this chairman of the subcommittee on health, has demanded this information and got it from people that used to be run by Fauci. You remember him? always on the news saying, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay," when he knew it wasn't. The report added that the Biden's administration's decision to downplay the COVID-19 vaccine health risks and delay warning the public about cardiac-related adverse events associated with the mRNA vaccines jeopardised the public health. I'll repeat that because it was a bit messy, wasn't it? The Biden administration downplayed the vaccine health risks, delayed warning the public about the cardiac-related adverse events associated with the vaccines, and jeopardised the public's health. According to the report, as of April 25, VAERS report, now VAERS, I said before, was the adverse effects, reported 38,607 deaths. That's in America. And more than 1.6 million adverse events worldwide associated with the administration of the COVID-19 injections. 1.6 million adverse events, deaths. Of more than 38,000 deaths, the report said 25% occurred on the first or second day of receiving the injection. Now, what they're saying is they're comparing it with the flu vaccination, and they say the 38,000 deaths compared with the in day 1 or 2, compare that with the 2,663 deaths reported for the flu vaccination over the full 35 years. So 2,663 deaths over 35 years for the flu vaccination, but this mRNA scan vaccine, 38,000 deaths in just the first 2 days. And they knew, they covered it up. No other reports of adverse events associated with any other drug or vaccine even come close to these statistics, the report states. And yet those who oversaw the development and distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine continue to insist it is safe and effective, without providing the data to prove their claims. I wonder why. Johnson's report demands that the full extent of the Biden administration's failure to immediately warn the public of all COVID-19 vaccine adverse events must be completely exposed. The report states that as the roadblocks are removed, because he's been asking since 2021 and he's struggling, now that Trump's in charge, Trump has given permission that they cannot keep blocking him, and he's saying now that the report roadblocks must be removed, are being removed, and more documents that have been hidden and withheld for years must become available and are becoming available. And the permanent subcommittee, of which he's a chairman, on the subcommittee on investigations, will provide transparency and let the American public see what is their right to see. Hopefully that will filter down to us as well in England and the UK. So this is what governments are doing to us. We elect these people to represent us. But unfortunately, what happens is there are so many employees of these organisations. There are so many non-government, these NANGOs, and what are they called? These non-government entities that we don't elect, but they're appointed, and they ignore what they was appointed for. They take it upon themselves. They say, "Oh, we can't let you know." Now, Johnson's been asking for reports. He asked the 50 he's just received, papers he's just received. He demanded them. He had them before, but they redacted them. They were all blacked out, it's black lines, and he couldn't read them. And Trump said, "No way, give him the correct ones." And this is why we now know a bit more. But he's complaining that they still having papers hidden from him. Why? How do these people think that they can operate remotely and autonomously and not be responsible to the people that put them there and pay their wages? They're very high salaries in cases, because they get away with it. And they're evil, they're evil-minded. Then do not think themselves evil. But if you are ignoring what you're put for in the job for, to help and support the people who put you there, then that's evil thinking. Okay, that's my comment. I'd love to hear your comments. Really would. Don't forget to subscribe, because it doesn't cost you a penny, doesn't cost you a cent, doesn't even cost you a rupee. It's totally free to subscribe. Press the like button, press the subscribe button, and make your comments known. And until the next one, there will be another one today. So please stay tuned. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay good, and goodbye from DJ. Bye for now.